deep in the heart of a small Alaskan town where winter ruled with an unforgiving hand. The residents were used to braving the cold. But this winter was different. Record lows sent even the hardiest locals into hibernation, leaving the streets eerily silent. Ethan, a young delivery driver, had no choice but to venture out that night. A package needed to be delivered to a remote farmhouse. The warnings on the radio, "Stay indoors, avoid unnecessary travel," did little to sway him. A job was a job. The drive was treacherous. Snow piled high on either side of the narrow road, and visibility was almost zero. But Ethan pushed on, his headlights cutting through the dense snowfall. After what felt like hours, Ethan arrived at the farmhouse. The windows were dark, the house lifeless. He dropped the package on the porch, knocked once, and turned back to his truck, eager to return home. On the drive back, the unthinkable happened. His truck stalled on the icy road. The engine sputtered and died, leaving Ethan alone in the freezing wilderness. As Ethan worked under the hood, he noticed something strange. A shadow flickered in the corner of his eye. He froze and turned, but there was nothing there. Nothing but endless snow. But as he returned to his work, the shadow appeared again, closer this time. It moved unnaturally fast, darting between the trees. Yet there were no footprints in the snow. Ethan grabbed his flashlight, heart pounding, and scanned the woods. The light flickered wildly, and then it happened. The shadow was no longer distant. It was right in front of him. Days later, a search party found Ethan's truck. The doors were open and the engine hood was still up, but Ethan was nowhere to be found. In the frost on the windshield, a single word was scrawled: "Run." In a remote winter wilderness where snow blankets the ground and the air carries an eerie stillness, lies a lake shrouded in mystery. Locals warn travelers to stay away, whispering tales of a curse, a village swallowed by its icy depths, and the restless spirits who haunt its frozen waters. But legends don't scare everyone. 3 friends, Mike, Sam, and Eric, decided to spend their weekend ice fishing on the cursed lake, dismissing the warnings as old wives' tales. The first night was uneventful. They set up their fishing holes, lit a small fire, and joked about the curse. But as the night deepened, they began to hear it. A faint tapping beneath the ice, as if someone was knocking from below. By the second night, the tapping had grown louder, more insistent. The ice beneath them groaned and creaked unnervingly, and cracks began to spiderweb across the surface, as if something was trying to break free. Panicked, the friends decided to leave, but their car was buried under a thick mound of snow that hadn't been there before. As they tried to dig it out, they noticed strange, wet footprints leading from the snowbank back toward the lake. Their attempts to escape were futile. That night, as the wind howled around them, Eric noticed Mike staring blankly at the ice. "Mike!" they shouted, but he didn't respond. Slowly, he took a step forward and vanished beneath the frozen surface. When rescuers arrived days later, they found only a few abandoned supplies near the lake and the car still buried in snow. Of the 3 friends, there was no trace, except for 3 sets of footprints leading out onto the ice and disappearing into the center of the lake. To this day, the locals warn anyone who listens, stay away from the cursed lake. Some say it claims the curious. Others say it just wants company beneath the ice. But one thing's for sure. Once the tapping begins, it's already too late. High in the mountains, surrounded by snow-covered peaks and dense pine forests, stood an exclusive ski lodge. For Olivia, winning a free weekend here felt like a dream come true. But as she stepped through its grand wooden doors, something about the silence felt wrong. Inside, the lodge was eerily empty. There were no other guests, and only a single staff member. A man with a distant, almost mechanical demeanor. He barely spoke and avoided eye contact as he handed her the key to her room. That first night, Olivia struggled to sleep. The silence was interrupted by the creaking of doors and the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the halls. Each time she checked, the hallways were empty. The doors shut tight. The next morning, Olivia explored the lodge, hoping to find answers. In her room, tucked away in a drawer, she found a leather-bound journal. Its pages were filled with frantic writing, recounting the tragic history of the lodge. Decades ago, a group of skiers had vanished during a brutal snowstorm. Some claimed they never truly left. That night, the lodge grew colder, and Olivia felt a presence watching her. As she approached the window, she froze. Pale, frostbitten faces stared back at her, their eyes hollow and unblinking. They didn't move, but their mouths seemed to whisper something she couldn't hear. Suddenly, the lodge was plunged into darkness. The hum of the heating system stopped, and the wind howled louder than ever. Olivia grabbed a flashlight and tried to make her way to the exit. But the hallways seemed to twist and turn endlessly, leading her back to the same locked doors. Panicking, Olivia fled outside, only to find herself in the middle of a raging snowstorm. The wind carried voices, whispering, "Stay with us." She ran, but the storm seemed alive, leading her in circles. The frostbitten figures appeared again, emerging from the snow, closing in on her. Days later, a search party found the lodge. Olivia's belongings were still in her room, but she was never seen again. Some say the lodge calls out to those who visit, trapping them forever in its icy grasp. The ski lodge spectre. A chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. If you ever win a free trip to a remote lodge, ask yourself, what's the real cost of staying there?